Welcome to Marketing Monday. So first, I want to say happy Juneteenth. I hope that you had an amazing Father's Day weekend. And today we are going to be talking about using podcasting to grow your author brand. So as you see this, go ahead, tag a friend. Let me know that you are able to see this. Say hello to me in the comments. Let me know how you are doing on this Monday so that we can get started. I'm really excited to bring this topic to you today. So let me know in the comments where you're from, how you doing, how you feeling, how was your weekend. Just let me know and tell me where you're from. I would love to shout you out. But before we hop into the topic, I want to introduce myself. So, hi everyone, I'm Nikisa Jackson. I am from the great state of Georgia. I'm a wife, mom, author, speaker, life coach, and HIV advocate. I run this amazing nonprofit called Anaya Space Incorporated, where we provide holistic care services to women living with HIV. And under the guise of Beyond Book Media, I am the lead writing coach and client success manager. So, what that means is that I help you all write your books. And I also help you in the publishing process. So if you have any issues when it comes to publishing, or it's just to help you move along your process with Beyond Book Media. So we do a myriad of things here at Beyond the Book Media. We help people write and publish books quickly. And now we have a whole marketing department, so we can actually help you launch your book out and get high honey and get you to the actual marketplace. And so the purpose of Marketing Mondays is to give you some tips and strategies to market your book. We have been doing this every Monday since April, so there are several replays for you to go and watch. And today we're going to talk about podcasting. And so, hi, it says Facebook user. So hello, definitely click StreamYard.com/Facebook. It should be above my head to go ahead and let me see your name, or just tell me your name. I would love to welcome you by name. So that is what we do. We also have a group called Beyond Book Media Influencers. So we have a myriad of products that we can do to help you market your book. So that's why we do these Marketing Mondays, because we want to help you get your book out to the public. Hi, Phyllis. It's so good to see you. We want to help you get your book out to the masses. And one way that we can do that is podcasting, right? That's one way we can do that. So first I want to say, what is podcasting? Let me know in the comments if you know if you've ever heard a podcast. Let me know if you have a podcast, if you know what podcasting is. Let me know. So podcast is actually blogging, believe it or not, right? But it is voice blogging. It's blogging with audio. That's actually what a podcast is. It's blogging with audio, and it is recorded. It's no video usually. It is recorded. And you just hear the voice of the people. So we talked about audiobooks a few weeks ago. And we also, I'm going to share with you an opportunity we have for that as well. So it's actually using your voice to get a message across. So, you can blog in writing. So like writing a blog, you're using your voice in written form. You could do video blogging where you're using your voice in video form, right? Where you're talking about something. And podcasting is in audio form. So it's an audio blog. And that is what, that's what podcasting is at its basic term, right? And it is a great tool to grow your author brand. So I want you to think about the books that you've read. Have you ever read a book and you were like, wow, I want to know where this author is. I want to know how to connect with them. I want to know what's going on with them. I want to know what they're doing now. Has their life changed? Especially when it's a good book that is about their life. You're like, I wonder, has their life changed and all that kind of stuff. So you go look them up, right? And you might see, they got an Instagram page or they have a Facebook page. And then they may have they got a YouTube channel. And then they may have a podcast, right? So that is something. And you go listen to their podcast and you realize oh my God, they made this amazing book, but they also offer coaching. They also offer this service. Oh my God, I love their voice. They're going to be speaking at this event. I need to come hear them speak. So having a podcast makes you connect different than watching a video and different than like reading stuff about them, right? So you connect with them, and then podcasts are usually updated pretty regularly, like every week is the usual schedule. Sometimes it's twice a month, and it's just different, right, than video and written. So you can do some of the same things, but podcasting is just another level of getting your voice out to the people. So your book could never encompass your whole life, right? And then think about it. Your book is a step in time. So say you write a book this month and you talking about things that has happened over the last 2 years, right? After you put that book in publishing, your life start changing anyway. So a podcast is a way to keep people updated on what you're doing, updated on your topic, updated on things that are happening in your industry, and also your opinion about things. Like, what are your thoughts about certain things? So tell me in the comments what your books are about. I would love to do some live examples. So tell me in the comments what your books are about so I can give you an example. Because the first step, y'all, before you do a podcast, y'all, let me tell y'all the first step. You need a topic. You need a topic. That is your first step. You need a topic. You need a topic. So before you go like, oh, I'm going to get the mic, and now we're going to get into some of those details and pick the platform, you need a topic. What do you want to talk about? So tell me what your books are about. Like, tell me what your books are about. What do you want to talk about? And I want to show you, and the reason I want y'all to give me examples is because I want to show you that even you might think that your book is like, oh, it's about this one topic. That one topic can go for a long time. And you can think about, you can really take that topic and expand on it, because some of your topics are broader than you think, right? They're broader than you think. So you can really expand it. So first you got to have a good topic. Your book is about teaching children about hand washing, right? So if you were to do, Phyllis, if you were to do a podcast, you would be definitely talking about infection control. Like you would go beyond, hand washing. Like you may start talking about, the importance of children, hand washing. You may even go into more about hygiene, beyond that, like teaching kids about hygiene, just period, and things like that. So you will go deeper into hand washing, more than just hand washing. You got to think beyond the hand wash. You got to think infection control, or even if you're talking about tips and strategies to make sure your kids aren't getting sick, how to teach them about hand washing. Like that's a whole series, right? Because you got a book, but you can do a whole series on that, and then just switch the angles, right? And then if new products come out, if new tools come out, you can share those. If you start offering new services, you can share that too. So you can go deeper in that, and then you may even realize you need to broaden the topic a little more, because you got a book about teaching children about hand washing, but you want to equip the teachers, right? You want to just talk about infection control in general. So maybe your whole podcast is about the importance of infection control in the world, and you go, and hand washing is a series of that, right? So that's one topic. And then your topic, reclaiming God's promises, right? That's a whole thing, right? That's a whole thing about reclaiming God's promises, right? So you could go into like, what's God's promises? What is the nature of God? Why does God want you to reclaim your promises? You can go into what are some things that block you from getting God's promises? What's going on in this area? Like that is, you got years worth of content right there, because a podcast is not hours and hours upon hours. We'll get into the time in a minute. And then rediscovering your voice and not being afraid to speak out. You have the perfect podcast. And then also, I didn't get into this, but I'll talk about this too. You have the perfect podcast to talk about the importance of the voice, but also the perfect podcast for interviews. Because you can do your podcast many ways. It could be just you, or you can interview people. There are so many people who are speakers who talk about different stuff. So you can use your voice, and you can help people to overcome fear and things like that. Y'all, if y'all hear background noise, I am so sorry. My house is usually quiet, but my dog is having a good time, and my phone started ringing. So, but we here. My phone's not by me to stop it. So please excuse any noise. I'll make sure I speak up. I just wanted to say that because working from home, that is the life, right? So rediscovering your voice and not being afraid to speak up. You can think about interviewing. So now that we got a topic, so I want y'all to start thinking. And if you're like, I don't know what to do my topic, or I want you to open up your book and look at your chapters. I want you to think about your brand as a whole, because we're talking about an author brand, not just a book. So for example, I wrote a book about HIV. I wrote about a book about learning how to love yourself. I'm going to be putting a book out about miscarriages soon. I'm going to be putting a book out about being postured for God, right? So my podcast, I actually have a podcast. My podcast is actually about growing with God. It's about creating a relationship with God. And I've been podcasting for about 3 years, and I have not ran out of topics. I usually do seasons. So I do a theme for each season. So we've had a season on identity. We had a season on developing your character. We had a seasons on like the basics of like when you first get saved and forgiving people, learning how to trust, faith and things like that. So we've had several seasons, right? Hey, Kayla. We've had several seasons about different stuffs in the area of growing your relationship with God. And so you can definitely, that's the thing I love about podcasts. You don't have to be, you could be broad in your niche, right? So I think you do need to pick a topic that's honed in so people know what to get from you, but you could be broad inside of your niche. So don't be afraid to step out when you start getting these topics together. So that's the basic thing, right? Find you a topic and think about your brand as a whole. Don't think about your brand as a book. Think about it as a whole. So what is your whole? What was the purpose of you writing a book? Why did you write the book, right? So for me, I wanted to help other women living with HIV. So I wrote my first book because I wanted to teach other people what I had learned in my journey. Now, my podcast is not about that. Why? Because my whole brand as a whole is not about that. My brand as a whole is really about people having their own relationship with God, and that God can help you overcome whatever you're dealing with and facing with. God can help you overcome it. So HIV does come up in conversation, but also things that I've been through come up in conversation. I've talked about persevering after a miscarriage. I've talked about grief, because it's all encompassed with growing your relationship with God. Because for me, what I learned is sometimes we keep God to the left and then we do everything else without him. And so I combine those two things together, right? So that's what my brand's about. So think about what your brand is as a whole when you are picking these topics. And what's so funny, you want to hear a funny story? I wrote a book in 2019 through Write With Me. Shout out, right? Because we're in Write With Me. I wrote a book in 2019 with Write With Me. And that book is not published, actually. I wrote a book about marriage. And I was like, how can I get this book out to other people? And God said, start a podcast. So I thought that my podcast was going to be about helping wives. So my first episode, if you go back and listen to it, I talked about faith, like believing in God, that he's going to get you through whatever you're going through. And I honestly thought this was what the whole podcast was going to be about, helping wives. And I soon to realize it was so much bigger than that. And God started to change it up on me. But also, I ain't have no Marketing Monday in 2019 to help me out. So y'all don't have to go through what I went through, where you go in thinking it's about one thing and God has to broaden it. He can broaden it now and tell you what your podcast should be about. So now that you have picked a topic, right, you want to think about your schedule. What schedule are you going to do to stick to? I have been guilty of this, y'all. I wish I could tell you I have been away from my podcast since October. I am relaunching in June, which is this month. I'm relaunching actually next week. I've been trying to relaunch for a while now, but I realized that there needed to be a shift, and I want y'all to be consistent. I don't want y'all to be like me. I don't want y'all to just go out here and do something. I want y'all to take some time. You can do this in a day. You can do this in an hour. Take some time and think about what is your topic going to be, and what's your schedule going to be. Are you going to do every week, every other week? I don't suggest once a month. That's just my opinion. But if that's all you can do, at least people will know once a month. So every week, every other week, or you're going to do seasons. You can do a seasonal podcast. So my podcast has become seasonal because of my own inconsistency. You know, I'm gonna tell y'all the truth, right? My podcast has become seasonal because of that, but then I realized that it needed to be seasonal, right? So at first I thought I was just being lazy, but I realized it needed to be seasonal. So when I come back, I'm going to be able to tell my audience, like, hey, this podcast is seasonal, so we'll go June probably till November, and then we'll come back in February. And if you tell them that they'll still be waiting on you, you can do a seasonal podcast. It's just about communicating that the podcast is seasonal. Or you can say, I'm doing it every week. I just need to do it. Sometimes we just need to do stuff every single week. We need to do stuff every single week. We need to get that consistency in, or every other week. So pick a schedule, stick to it so that you can communicate with people. so that they can know when to find you and when you're going to be talking about infection control, when you're going to be talking about reclaiming God's promises, when we're going to hear from that next interview that you're about to do. We need to make sure that we are being consistent, and that goes with everything, because remember, this is marketing. So this is how people are going to find out about your book. This is how people are going to find out about what you do. So you can look at this both ways. Either people are going to read your book and get the podcast, or people are going to listen to the podcast and then go get your book. So remember, this is the way that you let people know about what you do and what you provide. So you got to look at this like a job. You got to look at this like, every time I do my podcast, there's a potential that somebody I don't know is going to hear about my book and go buy my book. There's a potential that somebody who wants to buy vocal books is going to be on here. There's a potential that I can get a new client. There's like, I am putting myself in front of my target audience because I have picked a topic that my target audience need. And when I speak on this podcast, I'm talking straight to Sarah. And I say that if you've ever been in boot camp with me, you know why I say that. And I say that because when I say write your books, think about the person that's going to help. So when you speak on your podcast, you're going to speak straight to your target audience. It doesn't matter it doesn't matter who you think is listening. When you speak, you talk to your target audience. So when I speak, in my mind, I am talking to people who believe in God, who are Christian, who want to grow their relationship with Christ, who want to be on fire for Christ for real, who want to have a real relationship with Christ, and who wants to let God help them overcome in their life in certain areas. I am not worried about the people who don't believe in Christ. Maybe they'll get saved from listening. I am not worried about children because I'm not speaking to children. I am not worried about men because I'm not speaking to men. I know who I'm talking to. So you got to know your target audience, and I'm sure we've done that. So when you start talking, you talk directly to the people that you want to go get this book. Or go get whatever your author brand is associated with. The goal, stick to the goal. I do 50 things. I do not go on my podcast talking about my nonprofit. We go live every Friday to talk about HIV. We go live every Friday to talk about HIV. We do a whole bunch of other stuff for women living with HIV. I don't get on that podcast talking about HIV. Now I do, if we got something going on, I got a little commercial in there, and we ain't gonna get into all that. So if they want to help, I'm let a nice space be a sponsor. So I got a little commercial, but I don't get on there talking about everything. I stick to my topic. Stick to your schedule, stick to your topic, right? So those are the first two things that I want to share. I know we 16 minutes in, and those are the first two things that I wanted to share. Now let's get into the fun stuff. This is stuff everybody want to do, right? Everybody excited to put the podcast out there, right? So the first thing, you want to get a good mic. Get you an actual mic. I brought a prop. I do not like the mic that I'm talking on right now is connected to my camera. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a mic that you can connect to your computer. One with a pop filter would be best. I'm going to find a link to Chanel's Amazon store and put it in here. So come back and look, or we'll try to email it to you as well when we send out the replay. So make sure you're on our email list. And what we're going to do is so she'll have a link to that mic that she uses. And if you took book to course, anybody here took book to course? If you took book to course, she showed you some of that. If you have access to book to course, it's the same mic in there. So you want to get a mic. You want to get a good mic that can catch your voice, because remember, they can't see you. So your audio quality has to be good. Your sound cannot be muffled. You need to have good audio quality. You need to have good, let me say it again, good audio quality. So you need a good mic. Invest in a mic. Now, when I got my first mic, I only spent like $25, but it has worked for me. Okay. But I also started with headphones in my phone. So for me, there was a progression from no mic to an actual mic. So you want to get you a good mic, right? You want to have a good mic. I'm gonna say it again. You gotta have a good mic. Get you a good mic that can hear sound clearly. Do some research. I think Getty might be one. See, Chanel knows she in the comment. You need to have a good mic. And then what you want to do also, make sure you have something to record on. So you can record on your computer. Like I have a computer. If you want to get fancy, you can go to the studio. Then you ain't got to get a mic, pay for some studio time so I can record you. But I use my computer, and there is an app, and it is free. I'm going to put it in the chat, called Audacity. That is what I use to record my podcast. And it is free. I don't have a Mac computer. If you have a Mac computer, I think you can use GarageBand. But I have a HP and I had a Dell, and I use Audacity. It is a free thing where you can record and you can edit in there. You can record and you can edit. So you want to record in Audacity or something like that, right? You want to record it, and then you can edit yourself, or you can get your editor. I got an editor to edit my stuff. Okay. I got an editor because I got tired of editing. Editing podcasts can take a long time. So it is some work, because Let me tell you something about editing. When you edit, I want you to try to record it as perfect as possible. So if you know you start coughing, just pause it. Just pause it. If you know, like my dog, like sometimes my dog come in there and start shaking, so I'll just pause it and then pick up the recording. Don't be how I was in the beginning, thinking it's gonna be easy to just pull this thing out. No, because you're gonna have to listen all the way through, find the spot, cut it out, and then make sure when it connect, it sound right. It don't sound like you fumbling over your words. So that's my suggestion, my little editing tip for today. If you know something going on, go ahead and pause it. And when you're recording, get in a quiet place. So I go sit in my closet. So for me, my husband is he does music, so he got like the sound pads up in the closet. He actually has a really good mic. I don't use it though, because I be like, if I break your studio mic, I'm gonna have to pay for that. I'm not paying for that. So he has an actual good mic for music that you could probably use. But I go sit in the closet with my computer and my little stand, and I put my mic on the stand and I record. And it's like I'm talking to the computer, like I'm talking to y'all, but I can't see myself, and I'm just on Audacity recording it. So then you record, then you actually sit there and record it. So you got your mic, you got your system that you're gonna record in, and editing, because Audacity you can record and edit, and then you can upload. And you gotta find a place to upload this. So you can't say, "Oh, I recorded a podcast, I'm gonna post it on my Instagram page." No, ma'am, no, sir. Oh, I recorded, so I'm just gonna put it. Now you can put it on YouTube. But I would say if you want a true traditional podcast, you can put it on YouTube, and you need to go find a podcasting app. Now, a free one is Anchor.fm. You don't have to pay anything to be on Anchor. You don't, but it's always pros and cons of free, y'all. You don't have to pay anything to put it on Anchor, but when you put it on Anchor, they will send it out to Apple Podcasts. They'll send it to Google Podcasts, Spotify, because Spotify and Anchor have a relationship. I think it might be on SoundCloud and a few other places, but there are some other spaces that you can go, like on SoundCloud. You can put your podcast on SoundCloud directly, but there is a fee if you do more than an hour a month. So there is a charge, but some of those places that charge for you to be on there, you are able to do a lot more than you can do with Anchor. So for starting out, I would put it on Anchor. That's what I use. But the thing about Anchor is you don't get all the analytics that you get on some other platforms. You don't get all of the analytics. You just get a few analytics. Let me see if I can actually share with you all some things. Let's see. I'm gonna share my screen. Let's see what window. Oh, I can do a tab. This is what I want to share. Okay, so this is Anchor.fm, and you can literally sign up. You see these people are podcasting here. Let's see. So yeah, you can definitely do it. You can get sponsorships. You can make your own ads. They give you tips and all that kind of stuff. So this is what you can do. And it's podcasting. Hold on, we're here for everyone, everywhere for free. So you can get on here. Here are some of the features. This is some of the features. And they have a recorder actually on Spotify. I mean, not on Spotify, on Anchor. I do not use that. It's unlimited hosting, streamlined distribution. They distribute to all major listening platforms and things like that. They have analytics. So they do have some analytics, but it's not as much as some other platforms. So it is a good starting spot. I'm gonna see. Is this mine? I don't think that's mine. Okay, so we're not gonna do this here because I probably got to put in the password. But anyway, I was gonna show y'all mine, but we ain't gonna do that because I got to put in the password. Y'all can't see my password. So that is what Anchor FM is, and it's easy. You literally go there and you can sign up. You can do it. I started with an app on my phone, and literally, so you can go record a podcast today. And then as you grow, you want to invest into it. So those are some of the basics. But let me talk. I want to really hone in on this part before we end and tell y'all some of the specials that we have. So we know we're going to pick a topic. Let's do a quick review. We're going to pick a topic. We're going to pick a schedule. We're going to find a recording platform. We're going to get all our equipment and we're going to record, right? It's important if you are to use this to grow your author brand, y'all. It is important that you stay on topic. it's important that you use this as a space to share your brand. So think about the values of your brand. What are some things you believe in? What are some things that your brand values? So let me know in the comments, like, what is the culture of your brand? So for me, the culture of my brand is that we stand on the principles of being Christian. We stand on God. So in my podcast, I used to not pray on my podcast. Now I do pray. So that's me, a simple way to implement one of our values. Also, I do a section on current events. Why do I do a section on current events? Because my podcast is a space that I can be transparent. It's a space where I can share what I have going on, because I always have a lot of different things going on and I didn't know a way to share it. So I share that. Also, I talk about some of the things that I'm learning, because one of my values is to be transparent. And so on my podcast, I am the most transparent than I am on any other platform. Actually, I am the most transparent because I don't get this when I'm going on live on IG. I kind of stick to the topic. I don't have a whole lot of time to be super transparent with what I got going on and all that kind of stuff. So I usually put it on the podcast, right? Another value is I believe anything that I teach, because I'm helping grow your relationship with God, it has to be backed up by scripture. So every podcast, you're going to have some scripture. And then I also do this thing where I do spoken word, because I believe in expression. I believe that we should be allowed to express ourselves. And I believe that for me being a creative, one thing about my brand is that I'm a creative. I feel like you should be able to express your relationship with God creatively. I actually teach people how to do this in flow sessions. So I teach people how to grow a relationship with God in a creative way, because I believe that you can grow a relationship with God, not just through prayer, fasting, and worship, but you can do activities with God. You can journal with God. You can spend time with God in unique ways, creatively, in a way that you understand God. I believe that that's something that I stand on. So I expressed it in my podcast. I want you to list some things below that you want people to know about your brand. Like, is your brand honest? Is your brand transparent? Do you want people to know your brand is creative? Do you want people to know that the core values of your brand? What are those things that you want to be expressed on the podcast? Because sometimes if they listen to your podcast, they may not even, you got to think. So I find people on podcasts, I don't know nothing about them. I don't know about their Instagram. I don't know who their mama and them is. I don't know anything. So the first time I ever hear from them is their podcast. So you got to think, when I go and do this podcast, this may be the first time people have ever heard me speak. Even if they have your books, they didn't hear you speak. They found your book on Amazon. It was recommended, or their friend recommended a book and they got it, or their friend gifted them the book and they got it. They have no idea who you are. So you have to express your values through this, and you will see. And I even advise you to go listen to some podcasts and see. So I listened to a few podcasts. So I listened to this one. So there's two therapy-like podcasts. So there was Therapy as a Black Girl and then Therapy as a Christian, or something like that. And I was listening to Therapy as a Black Girl, and so I found out about Therapy as a Christian. Why? Because it was more honed into who I was. She was more niche. She was like, hey, this is Therapy as a Christian. So me, I naturally go listen to her now. She still get a practical tools and tips, maybe like Therapy as a Black Girl. But when she niched it to, like, I'm talking to Christians, I got both in one podcast, right? So that's even like, so people are looking for you to express your values through your podcast. Is what I'm getting at. That's what people are looking for you to do. That's what people are looking for you to do. So you cannot be afraid to express that. And that's how you grow your Arthur brand, because a podcast can go further than you. I got people listening to my podcast in other countries that I've never been in, states that I don't frequent. People are listening all over the world. It's not limited to your neighborhood. So it's not just going to Atlanta, wherever you are. It's not just going to this one one place. It's going all over. So you got to think about that, because who want a worldwide Arthur brand? Who want a worldwide author brand? I want one. I want people to know about my book in Indonesia. I don't know where that's set on the map. I want people to know about my book in Turkey, the other Georgia, not the state of Georgia, but the country of Georgia. And y'all, flies are disrespectful. I'm so sorry. They so disrespectful. So that's what I want to know, right? That's what I that's what I want my Arthur brand to do. So what do you want your Arthur brand to do that you can express on your podcast? So while y'all are putting that down, we hitting that 30-minute mark. I'm probably going to share you some good tips at the end, but I want to let y'all know what we have going on at beyond the book media. We have some spots open for audiobooks. So we're talking about podcasting. And so it's important that you get your voice on audio, and you can start by doing an actual audiobook. So we have a couple of spots left for audiobooks. The link is linked above. If I can get somebody to post it below, that would be great. So we definitely want you all to go ahead and save your slot for audiobook, because that's the first way that you can start getting your voice out. Our audiobook department is amazing, because some of us, let's be clear, we have a hard time listening to our own voice. We have a hard time being confident in our own voice. And you may want to do a podcast, and maybe this is the place you start. Like, let me get my voice on audio to audio record this book, right? And then grow into really having your voice on audio every single week. So definitely you want to go ahead and save your spot, turn your book into an audiobook. Audiobooks are really, it's a growing industry. I literally bought a book last week, and I thought it was a written book and it was an audio book. And when I seen, I said, you know what, though, this is even better, because I could just listen and take notes instead of having this physical book and highlighting, which I love both. But audio books, you can listen on the go, just like a podcast, and you can stop where you are and then pick right back up where you were. And some of your readers want audiobooks. I remember a few years ago, this young lady came to me, and she was very honest, and she said, you know, I want to get your book, but I don't read that well. And so can you make it an audiobook? And now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, shoot, I need to go get me an audiobook, because I have not done it, because I just was like, I don't know what to do. But there's a whole group of people who not going to read the book. They want to listen to the book. They want to be filled up. They want to hear your voice, and they want to hear it in your voice. I know that you could get somebody, an actor, to do it, but they want to hear you tell your story in your voice. So definitely, if you have been thinking about it, halfway thinking about it, you got your book done, or if you're an active publishing client and things like that, go ahead and click that link and get your audiobook, because you need to put your book on audio. Okay. So Kayla said, I'm going to share your comment. Values for me, strong family connections, mainly healthy co-parenting. That's a good topic, right? So one way you could do that is maybe if the person you're co-parenting with could come on the podcast sometimes and talk about what it's like to co-parent with you, right? Where you share a lot of your family stories in your podcast, so you can like story tell, because on podcasting you can story tell. So you can story tell about some of the things that you've done to actually create strong family connections. That's one way that you can do it. Or at the end of your podcast every day, because I love having, and I'll talk about this too, I love having like sections in the podcast. So maybe you do a section where you give a family tip of the week, right? So you like, hey, my family tip of the week, because I know what you do, right? I know you do travel. So what if your family tip of the week is, when you go on family vacation, make sure y'all have a game night so that y'all can actually connect with each other, right? So that like, that's a family tip. I just came with it off the top of my head. So go to the store, and you can tell them, go to the store, get the games, and already prepare to have a game night so that y'all can connect or something like that. So that's one way that you can express. So thank you for sharing, because I don't see anybody else that want to, put an example up here, because I got good ideas. You might want to just go ahead and drop your topic so I can help you figure some stuff out and get your mind thinking about how you could do this in podcasting. And another tip is follow in your podcast, follow a flow every week, because it'll be easier to come up with your content. So my flow is, when I come on, I got an intro, and then I do current events, then we pray, I do the topic, and then we do words of wisdom, which is usually me doing spoken word. And if it's not spoken word, I'm giving a literal word of wisdom, something that God has taught me. And then at the end, I give a scripture and a song for the week and any announcement. So I do sell on my podcast. So I'll tell people, and I usually sell in the beginning. I usually tell them in the beginning, hey, you want to coach with me? I got this going on. I got a challenge going on. And I put the links down below so they can get that in the beginning. And then I'll remind them in the end. That's just what I do. I put it in the front, because as you grow your podcast, the thing is, you're going to grow, and people going to start giving you advertisements and wanting to sponsor. And you're going to hear them say, hey, I want to put the sponsorship in the beginning, because you want people to hear it as soon as they get on. So definitely have sections for your podcast. So you said trauma-informed coaching and self-care topics. So for trauma-informed coaching and self-care topics, it is, are you talking to the coaches Or are you helping people overcome trauma and deal with self-care? So that's the first thing you got to know, who you're talking to, number one. Or are you kind of talking to both? Are you helping trauma-informed coaches deal with self-care? So then you can kind of talk about both. So if you're helping people, you want to position it as helping like overcoming trauma and self-care. You don't want to position it as trauma-informed coaching because it looks like you're talking to the coach. So I don't know how you would word that. You would make that very clear that that's what you want to talk about. But you can do a whole series on the different types of self-care, because some people think self-care is getting manicures and pedicures and getting their hair done. For some people, that's maintenance. So you need to talk about self-care because what we focus on is self-care from the relaxation standpoint, but nobody's talking about what's financial self-care, what's boundaries. Getting coaching and therapy is self-care. They're not talking about keeping your house clean could be self-care. So different areas of self-care, that's what I would do, right? I would talk about different areas of self-care, and then I would talk about overcoming different types of trauma, the trauma of being in a relationship. So on Sunday in KBN, we do a group room every single Sunday. We have been doing that room since the end of 2020, and we have not ran out of topics yet. Even if we run a topic back, we got a different view of that same topic. So you could really go in depth on the topics, because I didn't mention this, but podcasts last about 45 minutes. You do not want to be talking on a podcast for 2 hours. They're not going to listen. That's just what the research say. I'm just saying. And you can do your own research when you put your podcast out. But my podcast, if it lasts 45 minutes, it's a long podcast, and I will literally break it up into 2 episodes before I put out an hour podcast. You go look at my podcast, you're not going to see an hour-long podcast. Number one, I don't even talk that long. And if I am going that long, I'm going to split it up. So you want to keep, because think 30 to 45 minutes of talking, right? So if you do self-care topics and things like that, and then what you could do depending on what you sell. So if you help people in this area, always pitch them to get on your email list, right? You want to get them on your email list. You want to get them off your podcast, because remember, they're all over the world. You want to give them a freebie. Now you have something else besides your social media wall to post your freebie on, and to get people on your email list. And because remember, we're growing your author brand, so you don't want to leave the people. Listen, do not leave them on your podcast. You want them off the podcast, on the email list, on the text list, in a program, buying coaching, buying books, right? So you want them to do that. And then somebody wrote being healthy from the inside out. Cool. So you know how that starts. Inside out health. We're going to talk about the mental aspects, the emotional aspects, the physical aspects. You got years worth of podcasts with that. You can start talking about the importance of working on your mindset. You can spend 2 months, you can spend a whole season just on mindset, emotional health, right? And then physical health, and talk about the importance of exercise. Because some people, we think, I'm some people sometimes. I want to work out because I want to look good, but also working out has helped me not take so many naps. It's increased my energy. It has me really focused on my health. It makes me start to prioritize things in my life because I've done the work. The endorphins that release, you can start bringing experts on there. You can bring nurses on there. You can bring doctors on there. You can bring therapists on there. Don't sleep on interviewing people on your podcast. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to know everything. Create opportunities for other people. So think about it. I'm here on Marketing Mondays, right? And I can't wait till next Monday. We have a special guest, right? So this is technically an opportunity for me to share with you about podcasting, right? So this platform was created for Beyond Book Media. And of course, I work there. Okay. So, I work there. Cool. But we picked a topic that I can actually talk about. So now I'm being used as an expert guest to talk about podcasting because it's something that I've actually done and actively doing and have been doing for some time. So now a platform has created for me to talk about podcasts. You can do that for other people. So many people have had me on their podcast. I've spoken on several podcasts, and I enjoy doing it because I love to run this mouth right here when I'm up to it, right? And I've been able to be an expert and help people in areas that they knew their audience needed, but they didn't have it. So if it's a podcast about helping women evolve, women growing in different areas, mental health, they'll ask me to come because I can speak to an area that they may not have all the knowledge about. So you don't have to know everything. You can get people to come on. Now, me personally, my podcast has not had special guests yet. I don't know when it's coming, right? But it's because of the type of podcast I have. If my nonprofit had a podcast, I would have special guests every week, probably. because there's so much to talk about with HIV, and I don't know everything. I just know my experience, what I learned as a nurse, and what I've been learning to help my own clients. So I have not had guests, but I know several people who've had guests, and that may change. It just has not changed yet, right? And if you want to have guests, that's a whole nother thing that we can get into. But definitely, it's time to put your podcast together. So let me know in the comments if you're going to start a podcast or you already have one. You have gotten new tips. So let me know if this has been good for you. We're going to get ready to end. Y'all know it's Juneteenth. We just had Father's Day weekend, and we want you to go enjoy your holiday. But also, we want to remind you that you can get an audiobook. We got 2 spots for audiobooks. The link is in the comments. I'm going to pin it here. Go ahead and get your audiobook, because that's the first way you can get used to your voice being out there. You can let your audience hear your voice, and that you can go ahead and get your brand in front of more people. It's like having 2 books. It's a 2-for-1 book, y'all, because you don't listen to audiobooks on the same place you buy your physical books. And people who have the physical book will go get the audiobook. So it's a 2-for-1. Get your audiobooks. We would love to have you. We would love for you to come and work with Beyond the Book Media in that way. So thank y'all so much. If you have any questions, you can put them below. I know there's a delay on Facebook. So I'm going to do a few announcements. Thank you so much. To see if anybody have any questions or anything. Y'all seem to be liking it. Thank you so much. So remember, we do this every Monday at 12 p.m. We have a special guest next Monday coming. You do not want to miss it. So go ahead and tell your friends, tag your friends, invite them to write with me. We are actively adding new people all of the time. So definitely add some people. And if this was good, share it with someone. We will send you out the replay. So definitely you want to do that. And shout out to our fearless leader, Chanel E. Martin. She'll be back next week to do Marketing Monday, since we have a special guest. I just talked about making a platform for someone. So we have a special guest coming next week, and it's going to really help you. We're going to be talking about developing marketing campaigns with someone that you're very familiar with. We'll be posting that picture really soon. It's going to be amazing, and you want to make sure you come to that. So thank y'all so much for listening. I don't see any questions. If you have questions, I'll come back and check the comments. Thank y'all so much for participating, and y'all go out and do those podcasts. I will see you all later.